Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 26th of December for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you a broad overview that we can all relate to, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep into each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. So as we come into this week, one of the aspects that's not really been discussed very much is the fact that Saturn, the planet of structure, in one of its two home zones of Aquarius, is in a semi-sextile with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. So we've got two planets located in their home berths, so they're in dignity. This semi-sextile is interesting because we're seeing some major structural changes in the world, and this week of course is very much to do with Capricornian energy because we have the Sun, Mercury, Venus and Pluto all in that sign. We also have Venus and Mercury coming into a conjunction on the 29th, despite Mercury going into retrograde that day. And also on the first day of 2023, Venus and Pluto come into an exact conjunction. So why am I talking about Saturn and Neptune in Aquarius and Pisces? Because I feel it's the direction of travel that's starting to open up. Once Pluto moves into Aquarius on the 24th of March, okay, it's just a brief journey through to early June this coming year, but it will be back for the long term through to year 44 from the 21st of January 2024. And the Aquarian energy that we're being pulled towards is more about a higher consciousness about how each of our individual behaviours, because Aquarius is very much the sign of the individual, but also how that collectively works with one another. Whereas Capricornian energy is much more to do with the established, the more ordered way of doing things that has become more the precedence over time. So I think that Capricornian energy, as we come into the start of 2023, is still really important. And having Venus and Pluto in a conjunction, my word, that can lead to some fated developments for many people throughout the year. But with Mercury in a retrograde, that's given us a bit of a clue that we need to rethink how we handle resources, how we approach things to do with materialism, just what value do we put on those old-fashioned notions of status, big properties, big cars. All of those things are going to come under increasing stress through the energy that's going to develop with Pluto in Aquarius. And Saturn has given us a taste over the last few years. So the angle between Saturn and Neptune is asking us to blend our perceptions and our sensitivities with the more progressive side of our thinking and how that interacts with other people. Now, it is also true to say that even though Mercury goes into the retrograde, which it will emerge from on January the 18th, it will still be in its post-shadow retrograde through to the 7th of February. So the early parts of 2023 are not necessarily going to be a straightforward plan. So we can set those New Year's resolutions. I should say that on New Year's Eve itself, the moon is in the sign of Taurus, where it really likes to be. It's exalted here, so a lovely place to be. And it's actually forging a beautiful semi-sextile to Jupiter, the planet of growth, newly arrived back in the sign of Aries. So I think that kind of says to us that the moon in Taurus is very much an appreciation of the good things in life, whether it's good food or good wine. But the Jupiterian energy is asking us through its rulership of Pisces to be mindful of the spiritual dimension, but also that we may have to refocus our longer term aims and goals because the world is changing radically, whether it's through automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, because we have the internet and technology has become at the core of so many of our lives. But as we come into the new year, and I'd like to wish you a very happy new year, On Sunday, the first day of this new dawn, that combination between Venus and Pluto is something to be mindful of, particularly in terms of business situations, because someone very charming and very persuasive is a person many of us will encounter in the new year. But we need to make sure that we're watching out for what the true motivations are of them and perhaps of ourselves on that particular event. So a lot of energy in the sign of Capricorn. That is asking us to think about goals, ambitions, and also it could be a culmination of a lot of effort that's gone in over a long period of time, where some people could get a deserved reward. But I think for many of us, what's absolutely true about modern life is that staying exactly as we are just isn't really an option, because the environment around us, quite literally, but also the interhumanal environment, is quite literally changing by the second. So sticking with those old objectives and those old ways of measuring what's important in life, such as the size of the property we live in, are going to make way much more for how we connect to other people and how we can find kinship, but also how we can find our individuality beyond the realm of purely making money. And I must stress, there's absolutely nothing wrong with making money whatsoever. So please stay with me for your in-depth zodiac forecast. But if you've yet to get your year 2023 12-month personal forecast, if you order it now, you can get your life roadmap as well, 2 charts, and 30% off. But I will also give you your general 12-month forecast, your Chinese forecast for the year, and your Indian forecast. They're all 3 within the package. Please see the link below. So Leo, your week commencing the 26th of December forecast suggests it's the time of the year to make those New Year resolutions, as usual. But over the last few years, there's been such an emphasis on this, as I've shared in your year 2023 forecast. And perhaps it's got to the point now where you're really wanting some light relief from all the responsibilities and obligations that you have tended to take on. But the thing is, although Jupiter is in your 9th house, pushing you to be more experimental, all the energy that is in Capricorn as we come into this last week and into the new year suggests there still may be some issues around where you work potentially, around who does what or contributes what on the home scene. And also, when it comes to fitness, we've all had a degree of limitation in recent years due to COVID. And if you have felt that you've become a bit sluggish, not as active as you could be, or perhaps eating a little bit more convenient food to try and lift our spirits, it's been such a tough time emotionally for everyone, and we're all feeding off the same energy, whether it is COVID, the recession, what's going on in the Ukraine. I feel that your sign in particular is really going to tackle the potential to be a bit more virtuous more than any other. But if you are applying for jobs, or you're waiting to hear back around an issue that is related to your where you provide service to others, things could be a little unsettled with Mercury going into retrograde. And also, of course, we have that combination between Venus and Pluto. So if anyone drops a guilt bomb on you about what they expect you to do that ultimately benefits them more than it benefits you, do resist that, because that can actually still be a feature of much of 2023. But the great news is the two eclipses that we're going to have next year are going to be much more liberating for you, and also the arrival of the North Node from the 13th of July, also in Aries, and the 2 new moons, one an eclipse in Aries in the spring period. That's all going to give you a much greater appetite to escape some of these more rather less sexy obligations that seem to have dominated. So this week, prepared for a few cross wires, but I think you will be thinking a lot about how you can perhaps get a balance between what you want to do for others, but what you need to do for yourself. Wishing you a very happy new year.